Welcome to Momivate Momversations on Win-Win Women platform, where we women gather to care, connect, and collaborate. Truly a win-win for us all. I'm your hostess, Reagan Barnes, mom of 8 and founder of the nonprofit organization Momvate that empowers you to elevate your mothering experience. Joining us today is Meagan Waite from the Discovery Family Coalition. And you, Mom, you are joining us. And we are so glad to have you both, Meagan and you too. We welcome you into the Momivate community. We are, or a mom unity, as we like to say. We are moms united in our passion to create a better world. Join us and become a mom unity member. It's free on our website, momivate.org, and together we'll constructively evolve motherhood into the 21st century, meeting the needs of our children while elevating our mothering experiences. Here at Momivate, we answer the question, what do moms do? With this uplifting statement: moms raise up society. That's right, not just our own kids, but all of society, including ourselves. This acronym is jam-packed with the far-reaching impact of intentional mothers who strive to improve and progress in these areas. We're not just chauffeurs and short-order trucks. As we take on the repetitive, loving work that shapes our children, it shapes us too. And it makes an impact that goes beyond our homes, because as moms, we are uniquely positioned to influence society one-on-one. Today with our special guest, Meagan, we are going to focus in on the income and outgo category of the Raise Up acronym, and even get more narrow to talk about how we can teach our children money skills. So we're going to turn off the slides at this point, but I'd like to take a minute with Meagan here as our spotlight. To tell a little bit about you and how you returned to college as an adult and earned your bachelor's degree just recently in 2020 from BYU-Idaho. And you own your own online business. Among your interests are reading, traveling, movies, yoga, I'm a yoga person too, hiking, and volleyball. And it says you can even sometimes be found at the shooting range. So you, of course, mention here in your bio how much you love your 4 adult daughters and adore your 5 grandchildren. And Shirley, I've noticed, is here, and I'm sure she would describe you as a faithful friend with a large circle of wonderful framily, as in friends made of family. So that's so great. Thank you for joining us to share your insights about teaching children money skills.
You're very welcome.
So,
you ready for me to just take over?
Yeah, this is your time.
Okay. Yes. Hearing you say it makes me realize I have quite a wide array of interests, and anyway, makes me sound pretty interesting. And I don't always think of myself that way, but thanks, Reagan, for that. Oh yes, I did return to school in as an adult. I jokingly say I took a 30-year sabbatical. My degree is not in finance, but it is a passion of mine. And I would like to say that that is what qualifies me to teach this subject. That, and I think I did a pretty good job of teaching it to my own children. I've, as mentioned, I've got adult children. I have 4 daughters and 5 grandkids, and I might get 1 more grandchild if I'm lucky. I would like to share a quick little story that illustrates, it's one of those mom moments where you're like, yes, it sank in. When daughter number 3 and her husband, they'd not been married very long, they were able to buy a home. It was before they had their 2-year-old. My daughter was working as a waitress at a local restaurant, and her husband was doing, he was working for a company that does like iron works. And she came to me one day and she said, "Oh, Mom, we're just really struggling and we could use some help." They knew that, finances is kind of my passion. So I said, "Okay, if you don't mind giving me some personal information, I'm going to need your income, both incomes. I want a list of your debts and your expenses and how much the payments are and what you owe on those debts." And they brought that information to me, and I started looking at it and I realized that my daughter had not included her income. And I said, "Well, what do you make?" And she said, "Well, I don't really know because I get a lot of it in cash because I'm a waitress." And I said, "All right, first order of business is to know how much you make." And I know she carries around, she's a little old school for her age. She carries around a little calendar that slips in her purse. And I said, "I would like you, first task is to track what you bring home every time you work. How much money did you come home with?" And she did that for a few weeks and didn't check back in with me. And I finally said, "Hey, what's going on? Do you need any more help?" And she says, "Oh, since I started tracking, I realized how much money I make and I paid off $600 in debt."
Wow.
This was after just a few weeks. Yes. So I was like, all right, that was just cemented in my mind that it's better to know where you stand than it is to just bury your head in the sand. So yes, like I said, that was a very much a win moment as a mother for me in the subject of teaching my children about finances. So
yeah,
now they,
kudos to her for
say that.
letting
I'm sorry, Reagan, what?
I was just going to say kudos to her for letting you have
Yes.
that.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
there.
Things have changed a little bit, and they have a different home. They were able to build a new home, and they manage their own money, but they know that I'm here if they ever have any questions, and I just kind of let them do their own thing. And anyway, but it was just very much a pat myself on the back mothering moment, so it made me excited. So I think that's what qualifies me to teach this subject. The fact that
You also do blogging about finances.
I do. It's called Money Matters. And I don't know if we have the chat feature on here, but maybe in a couple of minutes I could throw the link on there. But yeah, and you can also find it if you follow any of the Discover Family Fun Facebook groups. It's posted in there every Friday. I do a post every Thursday that gets posted in the groups on Friday. So look there. So I do have another pat on the back mom moment, and that is that I have taught all 4 of my kids how to work. I say many times, look, I might not have been a perfect parent. I spent some of my years as a single parent, and I might have made a few mistakes, but my girls know how to work, and I feel very proud of that fact.
Yes, I think that is definitely something to feel proud about. It's
yes,
like the things that will carry them as they go through life.
Exactly. And that is kind of where I wanted to start having this discussion about finances with kids, because it starts with work. Well, what's the big deal about work? Well, work begets rewards. We can call it whatever we want. We can call it divine intervention. You can call it karma, good juju. You might even call it luck. In fact, Thomas Jefferson once said that he says, "I'm a greater believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it." So I like that. And that's just the way it works. And I also believe that teaching our kids to work is the foundation for good money management. We have to, I think we can all agree that compensation comes from effort. So we need to teach our children that work is not bad. It's not a form of child abuse. Learning good, wholesome work has a number of benefits. Number 1, it's a basic life skill. Number 2, produces positive results. 3, it builds character. 4, it provides a sense of dignity. I heard a story once told by the child of a parent. Oh, thank you, Mallory, who saw his mother during the Depression answer the door to people coming by looking for work. And quite frequently, they would say, hey, can you spare some cash or even a meal? And there was a pile of wood on one side of the house, and somebody would come by and she'd say, yes, I would be happy to feed you. Would you be willing to move the pile of wood from side A to side B? And they would do that. And then she would feed him. And the next one would come and she would say, oh, I have a pile of wood that needs to go from side B to side A.
So it was the same pile of wood.
The same pile of wood, just moved to different places. And the child, mom, why are you doing that? And she says, because giving somebody work gives them dignity. And I really like that, because it does. Work can provide a sense of completion. I am very much a list maker. I really like crossing things off my list. Yeah. It can instill confidence. Up to 7. Okay. It is a key. It's key to healthy psychological development. It's basically good for the soul. Kind of keeps us out of trouble too.
True.
Yeah, I talk about how busy I stay, and I jokingly say, oh, it keeps me out of trouble, because people say, you sure work a lot. I'm like, yeah, it keeps me out of trouble. Work is physically good for our bodies. It teaches us responsibility. It's an introduction to the real world. I mean, things don't happen in the real world unless somebody is working. It teaches accountability for our actions. It also allows for the development of sympathy and empathy. For those that might not recognize the difference, sympathy is feeling for somebody else's circumstances. Empathy is having walked in their shoes. And they're both important. Work can allow for both of those. It also allows for satisfaction. It teaches control over outcomes. When you have invested yourself, when kids learn that when they invest themselves, that they can have a say in how things end, that's very powerful, and it can be very powerful. Let me say it that way. And work eventually leads to independence, which is really what we all want. We do not want our 40-year-old children living in the basement. Okay.
Yeah, our role as a mom is kind of a weird one, because we say we want to work ourselves out of a job, we want to do so well as moms that our kids don't need us anymore. So.
That is it, isn't it? But then you get to move on to grandma, which is awesome. I remember reading one time a little bumper sticker that said, if you're a good parent, then you get promoted to grandparent. So I love being a grandma, love my grandkids. So teaching children to work at an early age with age appropriate chores and tasks will help and can help establish positive habits that children will take with them into adulthood. So once we get the idea behind us that working or teaching children to work is not child abuse, we can then teach children the work to money connection. Money comes from work. It does not come from the bank. It does not come from mom or dad's wallet. And I'm afraid there are a lot of kids, probably in the last few generations, that don't understand that. We need to help them understand that if you don't work, you don't get any money. I suggest starting by assigning children some chores simply because they live there, as well as having chores that kids are paid to do. I really subscribe to Dave Ramsey's theory of what he calls, the word just left me, it's coming back. Commission. Commission. You should clean up after yourself, make your own bed, put your clothes in the hamper, probably put your dishes in the sink, just because you live there. But parents, you get to decide which chores are an unpaid responsibility. And I gave you suggestions, making your bed, picking up after yourselves, and which chores have a commission attached to them. That's up to you. I believe that an allowance. Oh, go ahead, Reagan. What?
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, we call those required versus hired, and you're actually not eligible to do the hired chores unless you're up to date on your required chores.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. Yep. Yep. Now, a lot of kids get what they're called an allowance, and I don't agree with an allowance. I think that teaches them that they should just receive money just for being, and I don't agree with that. So I like your required before the hired chores, and yeah, stick with the commission. I like both of those. They would go very well together. Once your children start earning money, I would have them allocate it. And as they're little, you physically help them do this. You take their little hand and you put the coins in saving, giving, and spending jars. I would advise doing something like that, having them visual out where kids can see them, because it creates that visual that will stick in their brains. So now I would also take it one step further by allowing children to use part of their spending money to buy some of their own belongings, clothes, maybe pay for some activities. Of course, not everything. They don't have to pay for everything. It's going to be kind of hard when they're younger, but it helps them to learn to budget and make good buying decisions.
And to be aware of how much those things cost.
Yes.
That, if they realize that, so we also have kind of figured out about how much those things cost, how much we would spend on a child. And so that's how we decide how much they can earn based on the required chores,
Sounds like you've got some serious math going on in your family.
It is sometimes. And so we try to help them realize the reason you're receiving this much is so that you can afford new shoes when you need them. And so you need to be thinking about that. This isn't just money to go blow at the gas station,
Right.
We have a gas station within walking distance, and they think that's really fun to go buy.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yes, I remember if I had little bit of change, there was a little store next to the junior high school that I attended, and sometimes we'd go in there and buy candy, Yep. Yes. Okay. So work. Yes, we have to teach them to work, but let's teach them also what is required. Like I said, we should do age appropriate chores for your children. These are probably going to be things that it's just easier to do yourself, but you need to give kids the opportunity to rise to the challenge, and you need to give them some grace to make their own mistakes and then learn from them. This is what's going to set them up for success later on. Especially little kids. Well, teenagers doesn't hurt either. You need to shower them with praise for the effort, not for the outcome, during and after the chores. That helps build their confidence for the next task. And you want to keep that positive work praise cycle going. Maybe you want to start with little kids, just a couple chores, maybe 2 or maybe 3. Toddlers as old as 3 or 4 are capable of doing things, but parents, you're going to be doing most of the work right alongside them, and you're going to be continuing to praise their efforts the entire time you're picking up all the toys. So just know that's how it's going to work. Yeah. You're going to want to work alongside them and help them master the small tasks first, and then add things as you see fit. I remember with my oldest, I remember telling her, she was like 3. I said, you need to go pick up your room. And she was kind of overwhelmed. And I thought, okay, let's think about this a little bit more in depth. And I thought, you can do one of 2 ways. You can start in this corner and just pick up everything and put it in the toy box, or you can pick up all the books first, and then you could pick up all the dolls, and then or all the stuffed animals. So I was kind of just giving her some ideas, because what we think is obvious as adults isn't always obvious to a 3 or 4-year-old. So, but working alongside them is a must. So when your kids get older, you can have them help you make like a chore chart or a checkoff sheet about what each chore entails. My mom, who's here today, I remember her telling me that she's had some help. Somebody comes in about once a week and cleans, and they'll dust. And sometimes the one gal would just kind of dust around things on the table. They need to be taught that you need to pick up things and dust underneath. So just break it down as basically as you can, so that they understand how to do the job correctly. With little kids, especially little kids, they need to have compensation immediately. they're not going to wait a week for payday. You've got to have coins or small bills ready to pay them as soon as they're done, so that they understand that. When you get a little bit older, they can understand waiting for payday. But yeah, as little ones, it's got to be instant. Keep in mind that some kids are not going to be as motivated by money as others. So you might want to set up an alternate activity to reward them. I can almost guarantee you, as your kids get a little bit older, that their interest in money is going to be awakened and that you can make a transition there. Reagan, I hope you're keeping kind of track of the time. I don't know.
Yep. You've
Okay.
got about 4 minutes.
I've got 4 minutes. Okay, I better move a little bit faster, huh? Include in this.
Wiggly with that. So.
Okay, little wiggly. All right. Include schoolwork and homework in the teaching to work cycle. That being said, I don't believe in paying kids for good grades. I got good grades in high school because I wanted good grades in high school. My sister got good grades in high school so she could play sports. So it was our own reward to have good grades. So I'm not a big proponent of pay me for my A's. My mom would have been broke because we all got really good grades. So it's also important to teach your children how do I say this? Doing a good job, what it looks like to show up to work on time, working when it's time to work, you give it your best effort, you do a thorough job, and you have a really good attitude. Those are 5 key components to learning how to work. Teach them that if they do it correctly the first time, it saves money and time. And a job well done is more than just a finished task. It's got to be done correctly. So parents, it's your responsibility to teach responsibility to your kids. It's also your duty and privilege to teach your children to work. And that is a direct Rachel Cruz quote. Rachel is Dave Ramsey's daughter. So let's see, a couple more minutes, could kind of wrap up with this. I want to talk a little bit more about attitude. John Maxwell is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, coach, and speaker. And he said, the greatest day in your life and mine is when we take total responsibility for our attitudes. That's the day we truly grow up. Your attitude matters. Your attitude about everything, not just work, but everything that you come across in life matters. You can totally change the entire experience by your attitude. And I have a really funny story to share, but it's about a colonoscopy, and I don't know that this is the right place for it. But just know I've had more than one. And the one time I chose to say, you know what, I'm just going to change my attitude about this whole thing, was a completely different experience than the first one I'd ever had. So
that is a useful thing to think about, Colin.
Yes, it was. I was amazed at myself. And anyway, this was my late 40s. So yeah. I also was listening. I like to listen to a YouTube motivational speaker. People might have heard of her. Her name's Emily Freeman. She does a Sunday school thing for members of the Latter-day Saint faith. And she says, work can exhaust us or exhilarate us. I wrote it down when she said it because I wanted to borrow it. It depends on our attitude, whether we get exhausted or exhilarated. So work can help us with a sense of purpose. It's easier to work when we have our own sense of purpose. Parents, help your kids find their sense of purpose. And in doing so, maybe you can develop your own sense of purpose. We have, on our Discovery Family Adventures, we've got a couple of adventures that talk about money. One of them is called Money Smart Kids. You can access the Discovery Family Adventures by downloading the Goose Chase app and searching for the game code adventures. And there is another money-related, teaching your kids about money-related in-depth adventure coming that should be released, if not tonight, very soon, because it's in the final tweaking stages, called Money Matters. It'll teach you to help teach your kids about the income and outgo that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, because that's 2 sides of the same coin.
Yes, it is. So yeah, the big connection of that like I said, that I've seen is between work and money and how to work, and yes, how to manage your money. And if we had more time, we could go into saving and spending and giving. And I thought maybe I'd have more time, and I just don't.
Well, on the recorded portion, you don't, but we will have the unrecorded part. So
Okay.
Go ahead and take the last minute here to say what you need to, and then I'll finish up this recorded portion.
Oh, if I only have a minute, what can I say in a minute? Couple things that are really important to teach your kids. Money is finite. You cannot spend the same dollar twice. And parents, get your kids, teach yourself and them about the power of compound interest. If you can start now and have them save for, I'm talking long term, that is key. And then the last thing I will go ahead and say is, yes, the world thinks debt is okay. It is not a good idea. Avoid debt with all costs. You can do college relatively debt-free. I did. I had no student loans. I waited until 2016, 17 to start. I did it with no debt. And it all depends on how you start saving now. Your grades make a difference, and saving. So start saving now. Oh, and picking your school. Pick a good school, one that doesn't have $50,000 a year a semester in tuition. Yeah. Go to community college. Salt Lake Community College is not too far from most of you. So anyway, yes, awesome. We could keep going on about spending and debt and stuff, but yeah, those are the three things.
Yeah, we want to encourage the people who are watching as a recording to join us live, because the conversation really does continue.
Yes.
So we've been hearing really great info here with you, Meagan, and I want to encourage our viewing audience to take a moment right now, whether you're watching it as a recording or not, to write these things down. They're definitely key points that have stuck out to you personally. Because it helps us remember it, and then we can action it. So write it down, and that will those movements lead from one to the next, and ultimately we'll be making these far-reaching that are positive need and want to change. So it is time to end our recording and start our live interaction with our viewers. So if you're watching this, to catch our live show every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, so you can participate also in the second half hour, where we continue the conversation directly with you, unrecorded. We want to include you in the discussion. That's how Win Women TP is unique. We care, we connect, we collaborate.